Most people don't retire because they feel completely confident in their financial plan. They retire because they hope that everything will work out. Creates a level of uncertainty that's often very underestimated. Because I've seen people with millions of dollars feel stressed about their retirement, while others who significantly had less feel completely comfortable about moving forward. So, what's really the key difference? It's not simply the amount of money that they've accumulated, it's whether their plan actually connects all the moving pieces into something clear and reliable. And that's what ultimately creates confidence for them to pursue retirement. Let me give you a real world example. Not long ago, I met with a couple in their mid 60s. They'd done everything right. Most people would consider making wise decisions with their money over time. They saved consistently, they avoided major debts, they built a solid investment portfolio over time. But during the conversation, they said something that really stood out to me. We feel like we should be ready, but we're simply not confident to pull the trigger. That's a very common scenario that I find with our clients. Really, retirement isn't just about reaching a specific number, it's about understanding with clarity how everything works together once you stop working. The questions often become, if confidence becomes everything that's important for retirement, then how do we have it all connected and how do we actually get there? In our experience, it comes down to working through a strategic sequence of very specific steps. Each builds on the previous one, and together they create a plan that isn't just technically sound, but something that you can actually understand and rely on. If you're in a similar position where you've done the work but aren't fully confident in how all the pieces fit together, there's a link in the description where you can schedule a call. We can walk you through how to work through this in a structured way for your retirement. Let's move now into the overall sequence of planning for retirement. Number one, move from isolated decisions to an overall coordinated system. The first shift is how you should think about the problem. Most people approach retirement planning by focusing on individual decisions. They think about their investments, they think about their savings, they wonder when to take Social Security, but they do this all as separate choices. All of these are very important, but none of these exist in isolation. Every decision you make in retirement affects something else. For example, timing of your Social Security could change your income on a monthly basis, but it also could impact the withdrawal that you're taking from your portfolio, which also could influence your overall tax situation. It also could determine how long your assets last overall. So when these decisions are made independently, it becomes very difficult to understand the overall outcomes. But when there's uncertainty, that's where anxiety starts to build. So for step two, let's design that core framework to be able to make decisions for retirement. Once you recognize everything is connected, the next step is to simplify the framework. At its core, retirement planning isn't just about total net worth. It's really about the relationship between the income that you have and your expenses. Let's say you have income coming in from sources like Social Security, perhaps a pension, and you have the overall expenses that will reflect your lifestyle in retirement. The difference between these two numbers is what your investments really need to support. And that gap matters a lot. And without defining it very clearly, it's very difficult to make confident decisions about anything else. So step three, let's connect that plan to your assets. And once that gap is clear and understood and known, the next step is to connect it to your liquid assets. This is where we do a simple calculation. We can divide your income gap by your liquid assets to understand your withdrawal rate. And that number gives you a clear picture of how sustainable your plan could be. It's not perfect, but it introduces objectivity. Instead of relying on assumptions, you start to understand what your plan actually requires from your portfolio. And this is also where a lot of people may stop in the overall planning. They get a number, and they assume they have clarity, but the confidence doesn't come from the single calculation. It comes from what you do with that information. So step four, let's coordinate decisions that really impact your overall comprehensive planning. And this is where comprehensive, true integrated planning really comes together. Once you understand your baseline, you can begin coordinating the different components of your plan in a very meaningful way. You can evaluate Social Security decisions in the context of your overall income strategy. You can approach tax planning with a long-term perspective. You can understand how withdrawal strategies would impact your overall tax or long-term plan. And you can structure your portfolio to support that income that you'll need not just now, but for many years into the future. And we also want to focus on growth for the investments to help you address things like healthcare, long-term care, and estate planning, which are often overlooked but can have significant impact if they're not planned for properly. This is also where we spend most time with our clients, not just managing investments, but helping them understand how each decision interacts with the overall cohesive plan so they can see the trade offs clearly and make decisions with confidence. If you're at the point where you've built a solid financial foundation, but you're not completely sure how all these pieces work together, this is exactly the kind of conversation that we like to have with our clients. Typically, what we'll do is walk through your current situation, help you identify where gaps or inefficiencies may lie, and show you how you could change just one area, maybe it's taxes, income timing, Social Security, and see how that can impact everything else. We're not here to sell a product or to push up a specific strategy. Our job is to help you see your situation clearly so you can make better decisions moving forward. And if that would be helpful, schedule a call using the link in the description. We can get started. Let's keep going. Step 5, help us understand why confidence still is often missing. When you step back and look at this more broadly, the reason people feel uncertain in retirement often is not because they've made poor decisions. It's because those decisions have never been fully connected to their overall plan. They got a few accounts, a couple of advisors, but no true real system. They've made decisions, but they don't know if they were overall the right ones, and they were not coordinated together. This creates constant second guessing, and that is not a great place to be in retirement. So step 6, let's understand where this confidence actually comes from. The goal isn't just to build a perfect plan, but instead to put together an integrated one. When your income strategy, your tax approach, your investment structure, and your planning decisions all work together, the entire picture becomes much, much clearer. When that clarity is in place, confidence tends to follow. That confidence isn't just financially, it changes how people make decisions, how they spend, how they experience retirement, and overall what this could really mean for you and your overall peace during retirement years. So when you step back and look at all this together, the goal is not just to have a retirement plan on paper. It's to reach a point where you understand how your decisions actually play out over time. Where will your income come from? How will your taxes be handled? What will your investments look like over time? And what's the timing of interacting with all these things before you end up making changes that you cannot change later? Because that's what ultimately allows you to move forward with confidence. Not because everything is perfect, but because nothing feels unclear. So if you've been thinking about your own situation, a useful place to start is simply understanding where you stand today. Not in terms of just one simple single number, but in terms of how you connect your current decisions and perhaps how they don't connect currently. And that's typically what we focus on with our initial conversations. We take what you already have in place, we walk through how it functions as a system, and identify where those gaps could be, the trade-offs or any opportunities to improve how everything works together. Now, for some people, this leads to adjustments. Now, for others, it simply provides confirmation that everything you're doing has you completely on track. Either way, the goal is simply to give you retirement clarity. If that's something that you'd find valuable, please click the link in the description and schedule a call now, because most people don't feel uncertain in retirement because they've done something wrong. It's because they feel uncertain because they've never had the chance to see this full picture laid out very clearly for them. But once they do, the decisions tend to become much simpler and much easier. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.